potentially being hit by cars. You have cars that are making the right-hand turn onto Fifth Street and trying to get up to the next block up on Fifth Street or to turn on L Street and racing to try to catch that light before it changes. So you need to look at that whole situation very holistically, because I'm just waiting for somebody to get killed over there.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen if you don't address it quickly.
On a design, we have enough time, more than 7 seconds or something. I think based on this information, it provide minimum time, but I will take a look at it. If the detector is not working, we're gonna fix it.
So, but it's not just the signal for the westbound traffic on L Street, it's also the signal at L and Fifth for the northbound traffic. Because as cars turn onto Fifth, passing New York, trying to get to either L or to, that's
Even to
the
make a
1100
left.
block.
Yeah, by the police
Yeah,
station.
the 1100 block, the lights change almost immediately, that people are in the middle of the intersection, and it causes a lot of confusion. And again, I think it's a fatality waiting to happen.
Thank you,
I will address it specifically. I got your question.
I mean, we've been talking about it for years, am I correct, Marge? I mean, it's been a topic of discussion, I think, entire neighborhood.
Yeah,
For a
for a
long
long
time,
time.
yeah.
But I think now we really need something to be done to help us out. And then the second intersection is Fifth, I, and Mass.
Yeah, Fifth Street and I and Mass, the scope was to improve pedestrian safety and vehicular safety. The I Street approach, the crosswalks is not signalized and everything. We start this project actually to improve the pedestrian and vehicular safety. After we start the construction is not full construction, it's just upgrading the traffic signal. We encounter some utility, trees, and ADA issues. We'll be able to redesign some of approach we have, and I believe we're gonna finish it everything clean by mid of November.
Of this year.
Yeah,
Because it's already been more than 12 months.
I understand. Yeah, I apologize for that. Yeah, but
And then would the double lights come down?
yeah, all gray poles, they will be removed, and it's gonna be all black pole. Each crosswalk we're gonna have a pedestrian crossing signal. Each vehicular approach, the one I Street now is operated by a stop sign. That will change to a traffic signal, and we're gonna finish it on November.
Because one of the other problems right now with all of those traffic lights, and when I say 20, I mean 20 traffic lights, they hide the signs that say no turn on red and this, other signs that are there, so that it becomes a dangerous intersection because people don't know exactly what to do. They don't know, they can't see the signs. Sometimes the sign is hiding the light, whether it's red or green, on different angles of, whichever street you're on. And I think it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I will address this issue too, but we are working to expedite. We start working. We solve our problem. We had some utility problem. We had a southwest corner in front of the church, right-of-way issue, and we could not be able to put wheelchair ramp, meet an ADA compliant. Those are solved. We solved those problems, and we plan to finish it in the mid of November.
Okay.
And Fords and Massachusetts, before I came here, I talked to a traffic safety group related to safety. They investigated, and they put some new recommendation to get rid of the southbound 4th Street double turn, to change it to a single left turn, and they plan to get rid of the rush hour restriction to make a left turn on southbound. The shop order is issued. We will see it soon, the change.
That would be great, because for those of you who are familiar, at the corner of 4th and Mass, there is from 4 to 6, no left turn. But yeah, that's the only way you can get onto the highway. So it's caused a number of incidents. And as I said, 2 people have been killed at that corner in the last year.
Yeah, they issued a shop order for shop to put a new sign and marking to improve the traffic operation on this intersection. Yes, this intersection, like they measure because they converge in one single point from different angles. They're not intersection. So through the development, a lot of change going on. We keep tuning the timing, and we have timing like 4 timing a day, like a morning peak, a midday, and PM and night time. And we will be happy when we get specific information about what time of the day. Weekend also we have different time. We are very determined to make sure a pedestrian crosses safely in every intersection. We meet all requirements for a pedestrian to cross the intersection. Thank you. If anybody have a question.
Any questions from the commissioners?
How often do you reassess the needs in a neighborhood? Because I think we've had that problem since before Safeway opened. So when was the last time that corner has been looked at?
I don't know that. Yeah, but like the city doing citywide optimization to retime the whole city. This area will be retimed next year in the spring. But when the development come or complaint come, we immediately take a look at it.
Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, questions from the audience? Martin?
Yes, I was wondering, I noticed that GDOT was repainting some of the zebra stripe crosswalks near Kenny Rec Center around Kids School. But I've noticed in other neighborhoods that you actually paint school or school zone, which are on the street near schools, except that around the Kids School, there are no such markings on the street. We need everything we can have to make those streets as safe as possible. Any chance we can get school zone painted on 5th Street and P Street?
Okay, which school is that?
Kids School, 400 block of P Street.
It's the charter school on P.
400 P and 1500 Fifth.
Yeah, I will forward the group who doing payment marking and sign.
Great.
Go ahead.
This was a good discussion on these intersections, and thank you for raising that from the agenda. I really appreciate that. Another intersection I would like to add to the agenda that I think gets backed up multiple times, especially on weekends, but even during rush hour during the days, is 4th and New York Avenue Northwest. Kind of the lane that goes into the tunnel. That intersection is probably about 5 to 7 seconds.
That is the intersection that a major construction project is going to be happening very shortly. And they are going to be, there will be specific lanes that will be for turning, going straight and making lefts there by Dunbar High School.
No.
On to the,
Because it's not into the tunnel.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
it will say right lane only for the tunnel. I mean, you won't be able to cross over, or you won't be able to change lanes there to go in. There is a project that is supposed to be starting, we heard about it, when, 2 months ago?
well, it's the New Jersey Avenue project that's been going on now for a while, the study. They were supposed to have another community meeting in September. That did not happen. So they've had a series of community meetings, and so there is no final plan yet.
Okay. I mean, in the interim, it may be worth looking at the 4th Street going into the tunnel. I mean, to extend that light by maybe even 5 seconds might do the trick there, because especially on the weekends, it gets backed up 15, 20 cars deep sometimes on Dam Street. So at least adding maybe 5 seconds to time it with the crosswalk there might be appropriate. So if you could look into that, that would be helpful.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. But the New Jersey Avenue project will open up southbound New Jersey. The current issue is the capacity on that intersection. Everybody want to go to tunnel, and we don't have enough capacity to accommodate all of them. And the sequence of matter, first we have to accommodate the pedestrian, and we have to meet minimum, but I'll take a look at it, what I can do. But for future, I think when the New Jersey Avenue project is constructed, some of the traffic may divert to a New Jersey southbound, and also the 3rd Street, one of Lake be removed, and that may work out for future. But the current issue, I will take a look at it, what can I do?
All right, anyone else?
Well, again, it's specifically the southbound traffic on 4th Street at New York, where you've got 3 lanes, 2 of them of which go into the tunnel, 1 of which is supposed to go straight and to continue on 4th Street past New York. That's the one that the gentleman is talking about.
Yeah, I got it.
What's happening is people in that far right-hand lane, they're trying to jump traffic. They can cause an accident by trying to merge that 3rd lane, which is supposed to be going straight, and they're trying to merge into the tunnel and beat the traffic, and it's dangerous.
And so I think an additional maybe 5 seconds would alleviate a lot of the grief there, not mess too much with the traffic around New York. I mean, I know you gotta keep traffic moving there and turning, but an additional 5 seconds would help dramatically, I think, there.
Please take my card before you leave and shoot me an email. And as I get any more information on that particular on that project, I'll shoot it off to you.
I think all question maybe shoot it in one place, and you can email it to me,
Got
and
it.
I will address it all together.
Mhm.
And we had another question.
Yes. The intersection at 5th Street and Road, Florida, Northwest, it's like right above the Shell Tower. A lot of traffic back up there, and it's like, most of the time it's like after 3 p.m. on weekdays, and on the weekends, I guess between rush hours. When the traffic that's coming west on Florida Avenue, if there's a way to try and delay that traffic where it gives the people on 5th Street more time to get into the intersection. Because the way it is now, when traffic coming on Florida Avenue going west, they keep going and they just block that intersection. People coming on 5th Street, they can't, when the light is green, they can't go. One car gets through there.
That is so frustrating. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you for coming, we appreciate it. Keep in touch.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, then the next we have another presentation by DDOT. It is the North-South Planning Study that is brand new. You guys want to come up?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Sorensen, representing DDOT as part of the project team for the North-South Corridor Planning Study. I'd like to also introduce 2 other members of our team that are here today. Is Stacy Weisfeld, who's one of our planners, and also Melita, who's part of our public involvement group. The reason why I'm here tonight is I just wanted to provide you a brief introduction of the corridor study that we're starting. The project limits on this are the Tacoma Metro Station all the way south to Buzzard Point. So it's about a 9-mile corridor that we're looking at it for premium transit or improved transit as part of the overall DC streetcar program that we're working on. This is a 9-mile corridor. We're just starting the planning work now. We're more or less in the information gathering stage, which is why we're here tonight. We wanted to introduce ourselves, introduce you to the effort, and let you know that you'll be hearing about this, and there'll be plenty of opportunities for public comment and for further information as we proceed through the process. The process is really kind of a big filter of alternatives that we'll be looking at, and then we'll be evaluating those alternatives through the next, say, 9 to 12 months. We've got 3 public meetings scheduled. The first round of public meetings is scheduled for the first week in November, and I do have some cards here that announce where those meetings are. Be glad to see you at those meetings, and we also want to encourage people, if they can't attend one of them for some reason, there are going to be 3 other meetings during that week within the corridor. The corridor is relatively accessible by transit, and so we encourage, that will be the same presentation at each one of those meetings, and what we're trying to do is have them strategically located so that people have good access and can have opportunities. There's also a website that's noticed on the card, and so we encourage you to check that out and provide any comments you can. I've left some business cards here with the chair, and if anybody needs to contact myself or somebody else from the project team, we're more than happy to be available. Our intent is to provide ANC's briefings early and often as information becomes available, to answer questions, and hopefully have this an open and transparent process. Goal is to, about a year from now, is to have a recommended alternative that would be advanced into further environmental studies that are normal on a major capital improvement project such as this. So with that, if there's any questions from the commissioners, I'll be happy to answer those, and anybody else in the audience.
When you say the corridor, how wide is the corridor?
The corridor is approximately a mile wide, and when I say approximately a mile wide, we've identified in this corridor a number of different alternatives. And we go through, right now we're going through, and it's more or less we'll call it the universe of alternatives, and that's one of the things that we're trying to get some comment on our public meeting number 1. And we've actually, through GIS, through a computer program, we've buffered quarter to a half mile on each side of that. So the corridor is roughly, depending upon where you are, because it does kind of bow out in a few areas. It's approximately a mile to a mile and a half wide.
Like, does it cover, I guess I'm, like, Georgia Avenue or to 14th Street, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I don't have a graphic here that shows you the complete study area. We've just got that, we call it kind of a cartoon graphic that's on that flyer. But we will be starting to post those on the website, and so that you can see, I call it the kind of the big sausage that goes down from the Tacoma Metro Station south to Buzzards Point. It does include the downtown area, and it does include the National Mall, and it does include the Buzzards Point area.
Any questions from the commissioners?
You're probably aware of the fact that there's quite a bit of concern from residents of this area as well as Southwest about the proposed termination of the 74 bus. There was a hearing that WMATA held a couple of weeks ago where there must have been 150, 200 people there in opposition to the termination of that line. So is part of WMATA's consideration related to that line included in your evaluation here, or is that a separate matter?
It's really a separate matter. We'll be looking at all the bus routes in the corridor. WMATA is part of our technical team, but we're leading that effort. As far as what WMATA is doing with any service changes now and what they're proposing, it's kind of information to us, and we're not really involved in that at all. A couple things that we will be doing as this, say, evolves, is potentially looking at, saying, optimizing some of the bus service in that area so that we can provide better service. We'll actually be doing ridership forecasting in this area, and we'll also be looking at it as a total network as part of another effort that's going on with DDOT. But to specifically get at some of the service changes that WMATA's discussing, say now and in the next couple months, we're not involved in that at all.
So secondly, the circulator bus that used to operate from O Street down to Southwest was suspended as a result of the construction of City Market at O and some of the construction projects in Southwest, and the community is very eager to see that restored. So is circulator service something that you're going to be taking into account?
We'll be taking it into account, but we're not really focused on what's going to happen to the circulators. Because it's all part of DDOT's program, but our specific charge is not to focus on circulators, but it will be. It's still part of the formula. Because one of the things that we do want to look at, of course, there's a technical side of it and there's a community side to it, is what happens technically when some of these things change, and based on the ridership numbers. But those numbers are also computer-based models numbers. They're not community numbers. So that obviously has to be vetted within the community. And when I'm saying that now is if you saw where we are now, there's, I don't know how many lines on a map, and that's what we want to get some input on. So we're really looking at all different types of connections, say between Buzzard Point and the Tacoma Metro Station.
And then the last question is, a number of years ago, there was a proposal to actually have the Georgia Avenue, trolley, if you will, or light rail going down 7th Street, and that was met with a huge amount of opposition because 7th Street is not very wide in our neighborhood, and there was talk about removing all parking on 7th Street. So the alternative of having it swing over from Georgia Avenue over to 14th Street was what was recommended. So is that still on the table, or what's the situation with that?
Actually, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're referring to, is when we started this effort, there was some previous work that actually put a line on a map. And what we've done is basically ignored that line, recognizing that some of the work that was done previously. So I think as we start this out, now's the time to make it very well known of what is kind of, from this community's standpoint, is what is off limits and what is on limits. What are some of the big concerns? Parking, we've heard that. Right now, like I say, we're looking at all kinds of options within the study area. But I would encourage you to make those comments, see what's going to be presented at the public meeting as far as, we'll say, the universe of alternatives, make some comments about that. In some cases, we probably have not shown everything that we need to show, and we need to get some input on that. We'd also like to get some input on whether or not, I don't have the map in front of me, but you'd see that there's many different connections. So we're taking actually 10 different options to public meeting number 1. And I'd like you to see those and make some comments about what you think might work and might not work. And if parking's a big concern on some of the streets in your community, we'd like to know specifically which ones are those.
That parking is a concern in our community is an understatement, but then that's the case for most of the parts of the city.
All right, any questions from the audience? All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
All
I'm
right,
sure we'll be
thanks
seeing
for
you again.
coming.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing more about it. Okay, so next we have in Kevin's area, this is kind of a part 2 from last month with Ivy and Coney. It is for a request for their stipulated license.
Yes, the commission approved the application for a liquor license for Ivy and Coney last month's meeting, but we did not we forgot, and they forgot also to ask for a stipulated liquor license, which is a temporary license until the more formal license is approved. So I will ask that the ANC 6E approve Ivy and Coney's application for a stipulated liquor license and communicate that our approval of their application to ABRA.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who said
Great.
I didn't hear you say
It all goes so fast. Why are they asking for that? Didn't they put in their application for a regular license?
They do, but when that happens, the entity asks for a stipulated and a regular license. Stipulated license is there as a temporary license that's put in place until the regular license gets the formal approval of the board.
It was my oversight to not have included that in the motion last month.
Did you not?
Pardon me?
Do you want-
We approved their regular license last month.
Right, I'm in favor of the regular license. I mean, this kind of go 1, 2, 3, you guys go through and you don't kind of ask for any discussion or talk about it before you're voting. And I don't know that I would agree to a temporary license. It doesn't take that long to get your regular license. Are they ready to open?
They believe that they would be able to open as early as the 16th of October.
Have they, when did they submit to ABRA? And is their 45-day placard time over?
I don't believe that it is open.
I would vote against
Okay.
temporary,
So-
but I mean,
One abstention.
All right, so let's, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who seconded.
I said.
Alex
Okay.
did the second, so all in favor? We got an abstention from Frank.
Yeah,
Alex? Aye, 3 ayes. Elfrida? Aye, and no from Marge. Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so next is also in Kevin's area, 1501 7th Street. This is a proposed resolution for supportive release of RFP, RFEI, or RFQ by the Deputy Mayor's Office for Economic Development for disposition of parcel 20, and Kevin will explain where that is.
Yes, that is a parcel of land at 7th and P, and there is a developer, Valor Development. Will is here. Well, would you mind giving the community an update on how the project is going forward? And the reason why we're asking that the deputy mayor release an RFP for this parcel is that the developer who owns the property adjacent to it would like to make a bid on that so they could have a bigger development at that corner. So if you could tell us what, sure.
And if you want to state your name.
Hi folks, my name is Will Lansing. I'm with Valor Development. Not sure if you folks remember, we were here about a year and a half ago bringing this to the ANC. At that point in time, we were in the process of purchasing a property at address 631 P Street. It sits about half block down P Street off of the 7th and P corner there where the Clark construction trailers are for the O Street Market construction staging area. At the time, we were interested in talking to the community about supporting us in our efforts to get the city to release this city piece under what they call a sole source or single source type process. Because we owned a fairly sizable piece of land next to it, it would make logical sense that we would be able to acquire the city parcel and then bring to the neighborhood a rezoning effort where we would effectively rezone those two parcels together and as a result deliver to the community a much bigger project that would include many benefits. When people go through a PUD process, there's a lot of community involvement, there's a lot of neighborhood amenities that are produced and given to the neighborhood, affordable units are generated, there's a whole list of benefits. That's why the city does it. And so back then, due to some changes on the political scene, that idea was kind of scrapped. And so we have kind of since gone quiet, that's why you haven't seen us here, taking kind of a step backwards in the projects that we do around town. We do like to get into the neighborhood very, very early. We invest very, very heavily in our neighborhoods. We are your neighbor. We're going to continue to be your neighbor for many, many years. So when we come in, we like to look at ourselves really as your partner, not just another developer coming to town who's going to build a building and kind of see you later, but we really are your neighbor. We're going to be invested here for a long time to come. So we generally like to come in very, very early in the process, long before really any planning is taking place, and talk to the neighborhood, get feedback, so that we understand what you're looking for. So that was what we did with that process. Again, it's since changed. We've been quietly working on assembling additional land around this site. And we're now at the point where we are obviously very interested in having the city release this to public process. I'm certainly not here asking for your support for our project. It's really just simply to petition the city to have them release this site to RFP so that the public can bid on it. And that would include people like myself and other developers around the city who would be able to make a bid for this property. And of course, the benefit there is that the neighborhood is going to benefit, whether it's me or it's somebody else, because it's going to certainly activate that corner with some type of development, whether it be retail, commercial, residential, something. And again, that brings more benefit to the neighborhood. So if we are successful in bidding, I'm certainly going to be back here to you folks over the upcoming months, talking to you about some potential plans and getting your feedback and soliciting ideas from you as to what you want to see there. So, Christophe, does that answer the question, kind of the background and what we're looking? Okay.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Kevin, it's in your area. Have you actually spoken to DEMPED about this?
No, I'm asking the commission to use this great way to influence DEMPED to release this RFP for this parcel.
So I can tell you that I have spoken with DEMPED. can tell you that I have spoken with DEMPA. They have an RFP, or again, the reason that there are so many initials here is because they haven't decided which of a number of different tools, whether it's a request for expressions of interest or qualifications, or proposals, for several other parcels in the neighborhood, including the parcel that is the parking lot adjacent to Scripture Cathedral on the 800 block of O Street. And one of the concerns is that they not sit on any of these parcels, because we've gone through, great, inconveniences in the construction that's been going on around City Market and Jefferson Marketplace, etc. And the sooner we can get all this done, then we'll be able to have a neighborhood that's finished and complete, rather than waiting God knows how many years for DEMPA to get around to finally RFP this particular piece of property. So we'd like to get that corner done sooner than later.
Are they showing any signs of either being in favor or against doing this?
They had not, in my last conversations, they were focused on other parcels and were not looking at this one as a priority. So I guess what we're trying to do is trying to get them to pay attention to it as a priority.
Okay.
Any additional questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the audience? No? Oh, here we go.
Do you guys have any ideas yet what you want to do with that area?
If we're successful, we do. We have some general ideas. It would be likely a mixed-use development. There would be some retail as well as residential. But again, it's so early on. We want to be back to the community to get more input as to exactly what that looks like. And again, this is regardless of whether this RFP comes out and we bid on it. If that doesn't happen, we're still going to be back to you folks, because we do own land there and we're planning to develop it at some point in the future. So we'll be back to get your feedback at some point. So this was kind of twofold for me. It was really to let you folks know we're still here. Again, we kind of went quiet for about a year and a half. Let you know that we are around and we are in planning mode, and we'll be back to you to get your feedback, and then also to show our support to the neighborhood that we also think it's a smart idea to get that piece released, because it is, again, whether it's us or someone else, it's just good for the neighborhood. So
Is that Valor Development?
it is, yes, VALOR, yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions?